Absolutely. Let's do a call to order the Base of Technology Committee meeting. Start with public to be heard on agenda items only. Okay. And I'm going to move to accept the minutes from the previous meeting.
Yep, I agree.
There's no old business for this month. We'll move on to new business for curriculum.
Good evening, everyone. The first item of business we're going to talk about is the assessment calendar for 25-26. Dr. Weinheimer, Mrs. Angela, and I have looked at this with our principals, with Dr. Murray, and just taking a look at the types of assessments that we'll provide our students for the year. So this attachment I can send to you and make sure you have it to review it more carefully. It's very similar to this year, looking at iReady benchmark assessments, our FastBridge assessments, looking at CKLA assessments, as well as we'll add into the SABRS, which I know Dr. Murray has shared before. It's part of our assessment FastBridge. We also include the information here. This goes out to all of our teachers so that they understand the windows of these assessments, but we have the information for Keystone. We also have the WIDA assessments and the PSSA assessments on here. We also share this, obviously it gets published and shared, but we also share it with Dr. Hild's team because a lot of times these are online assessments. We need to make sure that they know when they might need additional support in the classrooms. So I just want to give you a second to take a look at that, but I'll make sure that you have that as an attachment as well.
Can the family get those assessments?
Do they get?
Yeah, like do we disseminate those to the families?
The FastBridge assessments do not go out to families at this point. This was first year of implementation. We have talked about as an admin team. And Dr. Murray, do you want to talk a little bit about some of the Linkit opportunities coming down the road?
Sure. We've been working to get all of our data into Linkit, so that's a one-stop shop for all of our data warehousing. There is the ability to have a parent portal there. We'd like to move to that direction, but we've worked with Linkit for a couple of years now. We're not quite there yet, but the hope is to be able to get parent access in the next couple of years so that all parents can have, our guardians can have access to all of the data that we would have there too.
Great.
We're also looking at some, they call them fingertip reports, which is basically kind of like a one-sheeter where it brings and collates some of the data into a one-stop shop. Right now, our teachers are going to be working with it for the first time next year. So once they get a little more comfortable with it, they feel comfortable being able to answer some of the questions, then we're going to be looking at moving towards parent access.
Parents do receive the parent family reports for PSSA's Keystones, which I'm sure you're familiar with those, as well as most of our curriculum-based assessments. So it's not necessarily the items that are listed on here, but the day-to-day operations of the classroom, they do see those, especially in K-6. We also, obviously, all of these scores are posted in Skyward, so they don't see the actual assessment, but any parent can always request to see their assessments from their students.
And I couldn't quite see, do we do the SABRS fall, winter and spring or just?
Yes, it's going to be twice a year for the SABRS.
So fall
SABRS.
and winter or fall and spring?
It's kind of fall, like October-ish, and then between October 15th and November 15th is our window.
Okay.
And then we do it again in the winter-ish, which is it February?
February 15th, yeah.
Okay.
The other FastBridge assessments will be 3 times. Any other questions or comments on that before I move on? So the one item that you see on the board agenda, Mr. Laurie, you may have remembered we had talked about teachers going to the Steels Expo that actually was countywide, and we'll share a little more in our updates in just a minute. But Mr. Laurie was one of the teachers who went on the in-service day, and he put his name in for an Penda subscription. He won that. So it'll be an opportunity for digital science resources for grades 3 and 4. It will provide activities and assessments that are aligned to the PA Steel standards. It's a 1-year offering that comes at no cost to us. So we'll put a purchase order in, but it's a 0 purchase order. I'll work with Dr. Hilt and his team to kind of make sure any of the digital access is available, and it would only be available to those 3rd and 4th graders at Brook based on the licensing. Obviously we can work with the company if that's something we find value, but I spoke to Mr. Laurie on the phone the other day, and he's excited to try this out and kind of see it. But it's not to replace anything related to our science curriculum. It will just be a supplement in that class. And then what we thought this month, really, because we didn't have additional action items, what we really wanted to do is kind of talk about the highlights of the things that we've done over the last couple of years. Over the time. So I'm going to pass it over to Dr. Reinheimer. Oh, it's delayed. Did you see that? That was like,
Yeah, it was still like, oh, I
Really
don't know
good.
who's.
oh, my internet connection is unstable and it was really delayed to get over there. So I apologize. So I'm going to pass it over to Dr. Reinheimer and Mrs. Angelucci. Almost did it. You're almost there. But they're going to give the updates related to science, ELA, and math to start.
So I'm going to start with the K-4 science. You might remember from previous meetings and presentations that we've given you that this was the first full year of the new STEELS standards, which was a mandate from PDE. The STEELS standards are aligned to the national standard, very, very similar, a lot of overlap with that. So what we've worked on over the past kind of year and a half, 2 years really, at the K-4 level is just realigning our current resources that we have. We have a really great resource in place, but it was a matter of realigning curriculum documents, making sure that the standards were aligned to what we're using, relooking at our assessments a little bit and things like that. So this work started actually last April, a little bit more than a year ago. The instructional coaches and myself offered a professional development K-4 to all of the teachers to kind of introduce this to them. And then last summer and throughout this year, I worked with teachers as well as instructional coaches to realign those curriculum documents and make sure that we're in a place that we need to be. And then additionally, one of the instructional coaches and myself led a professional development session this winter to refresh the teachers again on, you know, what these new standards are and kind of what that looks like in the classroom specifically. It was a little bit more practical and hands-on kind of session. And we've also provided teachers with a lesson and unit plan template for every single unit at every grade level to really make sure that we're aligned K-4 and that teachers truly feel prepared and have everything that they need.
At the 5-6 level, this was their first year of implementation for their new resource. So we staggered it a little bit because they were also implementing their new math resource. They started midway through the year. They had 2 3-hour PD sessions throughout the course of this year, but this work of course started last year with beginning to have some smaller PD sessions during PLC time. We did have the high school teachers put together a PD session over the summer for them. And then we launched into it this year. They really embraced those shifts from the front loading and the rote memorization to that sense making. And so they got into it. It is a big shift for them in terms of content. They spent a lot of time on earth science at the 5th and 6th grade level. And now it's focusing on all of the different standards, physical science, earth science, and life science. So it embraces those 3-dimensional learning with the disciplinary core ideas, the science and engineering practices, which is that hands-on, and the cross-cutting concepts. It's very phenomena driven and it increases that student discourse. At the high school level, the high school math science department has done a phenomenal job of not only embracing their own department, but also spreading it out K-12. They put together PD over the summer for K-6, but also they have themselves over the past 2 to 3 years have strategically worked together to make sure that they were all prepared for each element of it. They started with discourse and really focused on that. They read articles, they implemented it in their classroom, they came back and collaborated. They worked on sense making for students to make sure that there was entry points for all students. And they really collaborated on the ideas for supporting that instructional shift. I do want to highlight, because I'm really proud of the work that they did. The biology content team wanted to take the storylines that NGSS recommends and really put it to action in their classroom. So they've created storylines for their units. And one of the ones that they wanted, I asked them to give me an example of ones they wanted me to show. They put a cystic fibrosis one together for the genetics unit that they do for unit 2. And it's a really nice unit that kind of goes through 5 different levels. It's scaffolded nicely. It builds stamina for the students to get used to that type of learning and instructional shift. And at the end, it has a nice performance expectation for those students that they've collaborated around. So we're really proud of that work that's happened over the past couple of years.
Yeah.
Okay, so moving on to ELA at the elementary level, as you know, this was our 2nd year of implementation with the new resource Amplified. So, you know, that first year was really about kind of surviving almost and really learning the resource. This year was much more focused on the actual implementation within the classroom as far as instructional practices. So that was a big focus of the instructional coaches and myself this year. And looking at what the teachers need sort of day to day in the classroom. So a lot of our PLC work that we did this year in all of the buildings was focused on ELA. And this was based on feedback that teachers gave us, what they needed more support with, but also what we saw during walkthroughs and when I was in the buildings and when I talked to teachers myself. So it was sort of a combination of all of that. So some of the topics that we really looked at this year were things like small group instruction, writing across the year, and how we build those writing skills. And so that's something that we'll continue to work on into next year as well. We also looked at, just continuing to realign our documents as we work more in the program, looking at our assessments and making any adjustments that we need. So we feel like we're in a much better place at the end of this year, after having 2 years. We also did solicit some feedback from the teachers based on the PLC work and everything else that we did this year, just to hear what's going well for them, but also, what needs additional support next year. So some of the highlights I wanted to share, they said that they love the structure of the skills component of the program. They really like the decodable readers. Students love the knowledge topics, and the teachers like the explicit and systematic way that the program is laid out. To continue this work into next year, like I said, I met with some teacher representatives this past Monday, actually. So they came back on their first day of summer break. And we started kind of looking ahead to next year and what we want to do. So there's still some continued alignment with assessments that we are continuing to look at, as well as continuing that work that started this year on the writing and the small group instruction.
Okay, my crew for ELA is not in a review. They have completed their review and are kind of working towards just refining their practice, but they are never satisfied with what they're doing. So they're always constantly collaborating. So some highlights that, we just kind of want to point out is 7th grade has a unique setup where they have an English and reading classes. So they have come together towards the end of this year specifically to collaborate on streamlining some vocabulary and some graphic organizers that they're using, wanting to make sure that the students have that consistent experience between those two classes. So I'm really excited about that collaboration, and that's going to continue next year. And 7 through 12 ELA as a whole, I think, has begun to embrace the AI invasion, if you will, considering the impacts on teaching, learning, and assignments. And so they're looking at assignments differently, and they're taking the time in different content areas, the 10th grade, 11th grade, 12th grade, 9th grade, to really examine that and think about what we're asking students to do. So I'm loving those conversations. The 8th grade reading department did a independent book study so they could start that conversation. I joined them a couple times and they're having some phenomenal conversations. So I'm excited that that department is really embracing this and making sure that they're staying on top of it.
At the elementary level. So as you know, that was my biggest focus for this year. We were in the math review, K-4. So we started the year, actually we started before the year, over the summer. One of the instructional coaches and myself offered an optional professional development over the summer and into the fall. So we had quite a few teacher participants in that, just to kind of set the groundwork on some of the shifts that we're seeing in instructional practices in math. And then in the beginning of the year, I put together a committee of teachers. We had all grade levels and all buildings represented on that committee to work on the actual selection of the resource. So all of our work in the fall was really reviewing possible resources, meeting with vendors, reaching out to other school districts, looking at the research, all of those things that go into reviewing the resource. And the overwhelming majority of the committee wanted to go with iReady, as you know, which is great since 5 to 8 also selected that same resource to use this year. We have a really nice continuation now, K to 8, nice alignment. So to prepare teachers for next year, so far, we have already offered 2 professional development sessions, one in March, one in May, on product training for them, with 2 more coming up, one in August and one in October. So we really want them to feel comfortable with the resource before the year even starts as much as possible. And then the instructional coach and myself, the one that I worked with over the summer, we offered another optional session this spring Again, looking at shifts in math instruction, it was really heavily focused on that discourse piece that we want to focus on a lot more in the classroom with our new resource. And finally, the bulk of the work that I did with the committee moving into the spring was just realigning those curriculum documents. So we have updated curriculum maps, pacing guides, an assessment guide, and grading and report card guides for each of those grade levels. And lots of teacher input on all of those. So they're very teacher friendly and lots of input from their colleagues.
And 5-8 was in the implementation stage this year, and I was super fortunate to work with the PD partner with iReady. His name is Alex. And we spent a lot of time together this year. So we had 3 PD sessions with 5th and 6th grade over the course of the year, and 5 PD sessions with 7th and 8th grade, just because of the way the nature of the in-services worked out. We had 2 leadership sessions where principals came so that they were staying up to date with how everything was supposed to go. And these PD sessions focus on the Try, Discuss, Connect framework, which very much reinforces the science standards, the SEAL standards. So it all plays very nicely together, which is that increase in student collaboration and discourse. The PD starts off very nicely, and there's a commitment for the 7 years, which is one of the things that we really like about iReady. But it introduces the Try, Discuss, Connect, which K-4 will get this next year. 5-8 will get a revitalization of that to make sure that they are continuing to understand the importance of that in the classroom. 9-12 was in a review this year. They did a comprehensive review. They did a fantastic job as a group, as individual content teams, and geometry and algebra 2 went with Reveal. And now algebra 1, geometry, and algebra 2 are Reveal. So we have a cohesive K-8 iReady. Algebra 1, geometry, and algebra 2 are with Reveal. So we're real excited about that. We think that's going to, be a nice progression for our students. The geometry team and the algebra, this gets confusing because algebra 1 is a little bit ahead and everything is called Alex. My PD partner with iReady, his name is Alex. And Alex with Reveal is also called Alex. So Alex gets a little unnerved when I'm talking about Alex with him. So algebra 2 and geometry got their initial PD, and algebra 1 continued to get their PD. So they're all on the right path. And the other content teams really took a look at what they were doing, and I was really proud of them. They looked at it through a standards lens and made sure that they were evaluating what they were doing so that we were having a nice cohesive progression of math for our students. And next year, we have some goals in place for our PD and for just what we're asking everybody to do in the classroom.
Before we move on, I just want to say publicly, these 2 women have done hundreds, if not thousands, of hours with these departments over the last year, if not many years before that. So I just wanted to make sure that I said that. We felt it was really important to highlight the work that we've been doing because you've been, as a committee, really supportive of the work. And I think it's really important for you to come back and be able to see the fruits of the labor. So I thought it was really important that we kind of close the year out with some celebrations and about the work that this has been multiple years of work, but ultimately it's coming to fruition at the end of this year. So
It's evident the work that you put into it, and I just want to thank you.
Yeah, it's outstanding. Yeah. Same.
I just wanted to give you an update kind of where we've been for the professional development. Again, some of these things are things that you did know about, but we submitted the professional development plan to PDE. Just as a kind of understanding of that, we had more than 30 people involved in the meetings that were held virtually, and about 50 people provided feedback. That is part of the comprehensive plan that had been approved. But again, that's something that's submitted that now is our guiding force going forward for the next 3 years. We also have a 3-year induction plan. We've really worked to streamline. We've adjusted the flow and the progression of the induction meetings. Again, our curriculum supervisors lead most of that, along with our instructional coaches. I work with the alternative induction, so anyone who is not in the classroom in the same way as most classroom teachers. But over these 3-year period of these 3 groups, we've had 125 teachers or professional educators in the program. And this work has really taken several years to get back on track during COVID. Dr. Murray and Dr. Rockland and I worked on this prior. And then we ended up having to go virtual for, even our orientation was virtual and all of these things. And just to get some of these groups back on track exactly where we want them, it's really exciting where we are right now. Title II, we have that as part of our funding. We've worked on book studies, micro-credential courses, various workshops, technology integration. We've had more than 175 teachers attend these sessions over the course of this year. Again, it's a testament to even, not our department even, but the teachers' dedication to work on things outside of their regular day. Our team led an instructional coaching institute last week with it's a full day professional development for our instructional coaches. Again, instructional coaches building their bank of understanding and learning. Over the last month or so, the department chair, Tara Chester, for the ELD department, and I have worked with our teachers at Upper Providence, kindergarten, first grade, and our specialist over 2 different days of training. Really, as that regional programming is coming together, we really want to provide them support. And the teacher that will be there in the fall will also continue those opportunities. Mrs. Angelucci presented at the PDE Data Summit in March. Her title was Unlocking Student Success, Telling Your District's Data Story for Targeted Interventions and Enrichment. And just so happened a vendor that I was on a call with actually commended the work that Brianna had done, because I was on the call and she was like, away, I think I heard somebody from Springboard. I was like, you absolutely did.
Nice.
So that's nice to hear. Dr. Reinheimer has presented at the PCTM. She has presented on sessions in the summer and fall related to rethinking word problems and increasing discourse in math. Under the structural literacy grant, although that is finished, we do still have some people working on. We have 12 people who have completed their level 1 certification in Wilson, and they also completed their advanced strategies. We have 9 people in the reading specialist cohort. They will be finished by the fall. Mrs. Hiller and I are working with them for their practicums. Both of us are certified reading specialists, so they need some oversight. So we're working with them this summer during ESY. We had 15 participants complete the AIM pathways for proficient reading over the last summer and into the fall. We've had 22 people attend the SIPS training throughout the year. We had 11 people complete the RABO training. So again, all of those things that we got through that structured literacy grant, I wanted to just kind of highlight and summarize what we've done with that. You heard a little bit about the Steels Expo earlier with Mr. Laurie being there, but we had 10 attendees that, again, the MCIU partnered with Upper Marion. It's a great opportunity for, in last year and this year, we've actually sent people to be able to, again, these are the science teachers, the math teachers, and in this case, some of the RanQuest teachers went just to hear what's going on in these fields. So I think it's really important that we continue to support all of this work. Just kind of thinking forward, just kind of where we are now, because we're 3 days in. So to the summer, it's an opportunity to really reflect, refine, and then think forward. Thinking forward for our future for next year, personal finance will be revised. That is a PD requirement. All students in high school will need to take that half-credit course. We do have lots of students already taking a course in personal finance, but it will be a requirement. So we'll be looking at making some of those revisions, and we'll share with you more details as we plan that out. We had talked last fall, looking at computer science, additional offerings for the following school year. So we'll kind of talk through that a little bit more in the fall. Looking at American Sign Language as a potential new world language offering. So there are some impacts to budget and to staffing and things like that. So we'll bring those details to you in the fall. We are in the 7-year cycle for technology education. Dr. Reinheimer will do that. As you may remember, when we did the review with science, the honors biology still had another year in their content and the resource that they had. So they've been looking at and updating, but they're officially on the record for next year as part of their 7-year cycle. And then, and Dr. Reinheimer will do that as well. And then there's AP macroeconomics, microeconomics, again, in their 7-year cycle. Sorry, Dr. Reinheimer, you're up on that one again. And the AP Psych, that is also in the 7-year cycle. It's technically Dr. Reinheimer's as well. So, but I'll be leading these other parts of that. But those are all either things that are PPE mandated, things we had talked about, or part of our regular natural 7-year cycle. I think that's the last of our stuff. Yep, so you're up. Actually, before I do that, do you have any questions for us before I jump over to that?
No, I just want to say, as someone like who touches this tangentially, some of the stuff you've been doing has just been really cutting edge and bringing in really high end stuff. And that, like what I see with that structured living grant, the programs that were picked, I mean, just are in line with the top, tier of what the research tells us. So, I mean, I really am excited about what we're going to be urging on the next couple of years.
Thank you. Fantastic. Okay. We took up so much time. I think you can finish this up. Couple minutes, Rick.
One item for technology tonight, and it's informational. This doesn't need board approval because it's a title change and the job description stays the same, but it's always good to keep every single person in the loop. So what we're proposing and in talking with the HR department, we have a position in the technology department that is currently, and I say formerly, it's called software specialist. Job description really didn't match the position title. It's more than just software and it needs to be more than just software. So as again, the job description isn't changing. This is informational, but the idea here is we want to capture not just the essence of the position, but also the core responsibilities so that when we have applicants, they know not just exactly what they're applying for, but they're interested in educational systems. And we want to cast as wide a net as possible to get a really strong candidate in this position. And this person will work with both technology, curriculum, building leadership, really across the board with all educational systems. And as you know from previous meetings and previous conversations, technology really touches every single aspect of the district all day, every day. So the other reason why Human Resources Department wanted me to bring this to the committee is when we put forth the candidate, we had one of those. So as long as the committee is in agreement, this is something that we'll be posting this week and we'll look to hire someone over the summer and really hit the ground running for the start of the school
I mean,
year.
if it better reflects the nature of what they're doing, it makes sense.
Appreciate that.
That's all.
Yeah.
So items for discussion at the next board meeting, we'll be getting it ourselves, but assuming some reviews.
So for the September, we probably will just kind of give you an overview of where we are. We did get the assessment calendar now, we wanted to make sure it wasn't like after we've already started the assessments, because we felt that it kind of had happened. So, at this point, we'll probably give you an update on what we've done over the summer, looking at what resources and information. I'll have more probably detailed information about what we're thinking for personal finance. After and I just met last week, I think it was 2 weeks ago now, just to kind of rehash some of the things that we talked about with the business department, because that's where it falls in there. But as far as our regular board meeting next week, we will have the action item of Mr. Laurie and the assessment calendar just for.
And if we could also, I still want to keep moving on the American Sign Language component of that, because I think that's
very.
I'm just pulling up a calendar. I know.
I think that's something that's really been a desire, community desire. I think makes a lot of sense for kids with disabilities to have. I actually came here for sign language.
With that, we move on to board comment.
Yeah, thank you, really appreciate that. And it's always nice, we think it works with sizzle reel, it's not nearly as impactful as this. I love seeing this, outstanding, yeah. At the end of the year, I don't remember what I did.
I just want to take a minute just to thank everybody for everything that they've done this last school year. And just thank you for your commitment, the work that you put into the role, the time that you spend with the teachers and staff to get their feedback. I think that's really important. Make sure what we're doing is working for, what we believe it will do. We need that feedback. It's important. And it seems like you guys spend a lot of time soliciting that feedback and analyzing it and making sense of it to make the programs better and work better for our students. So I just want to thank everybody for what you did for this past year and also just to continue to iterate on what we have to make it better. So thank you.
Lucky to have such a great team.
With that, we'll move to public to be heard on topics related to this. If you could just state your name and your township resident.
Good evening. My name is Rakhi Sharma. I live in the township. I'm honored to be here today as a Kumon instructor. I'm very passionate Kumon Flora Sports, so it's in the school district. I'm very passionate about empowering students to become independent learner, have a discipline, and also have a strong foundation skills. Very similar values that we all share as in education. Kumon is globally recognized math and reading program that has a unique approach by making students learn independently. Kumon fosters independent learning by making sure students are learning on their own pace through a seamless curriculum and ensuring that the students have grasped their concept before moving forward. This approach helps them to become confident, independent, build the work skills and stamina. All the attributes that are required, not in just classroom, but in life as well. I wanted to come here today to discuss how Kumon can help with our schools as well. So combining this proven approach with school, we can fill in the learning gaps, we can provide enrichment, and also we can strengthen our school success. We all can agree when students are independent learner, the classroom instruction become more proactive and also effective. Student gain the confidence to take the challenges with resilience. Beyond academic success, Kumon also helps with the time management, building the stamina, confidence, perseverance, and all the traits that help students to become proactive learners and tomorrow's leaders as well. So when Kumon and school working together, we are not just talking about improving the test scores. We are talking about fostering a community with a strong academic foundation skills. And I like to have an opportunity to how can we work together and build this partnership to help our students and build a strong foundation, educational foundation for our community as well. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For coming.
Oh, I also have a Kumon folders to give out if I'm allowed to.
You'll have to wait till the end of the meeting.
Sure,
If anybody wants to take it there.
Sure.
Fine, just make sure you any other public comment? Right, and I'll move to adjourn.
And we're off the air.